Usher was sitting alone in his dressing room at Madison Square Garden, and he hadn't moved in 15 minutes. His manager knocked, came in, saw him on the couch. "You were incredible out there." Usher didn't look up. He was still in his stage clothes, still sweating, holding the same unopened water bottle he'd grabbed when he walked off stage. He set it down slowly. "You don't understand," he said. "He wasn't trying to beat me. He was trying to save me." His manager had no response to that. Neither did I the first time I came across it. But the longer I sat with that sentence, the more I realized it might be the most honest thing anyone has ever said about what it actually meant to be around Michael Jackson. September 10th, 2001, Madison Square Garden, New York City, the second of two concerts marking Michael Jackson's 30th year as a solo artist. 20,000 people packed into one of the most recognizable arenas in the world. Cameras from every major network, celebrities filling the first 20 rows, the biggest names in music all gathered in one building for one night. And in the wings, warming up, was 22-year-old Usher Raymond. By 2001, Usher wasn't a kid chasing a dream anymore. He had 3 platinum albums. He'd been on the cover of every major music magazine. He was selling out arenas on his own terms, winning Grammys, and everywhere he went, the same comparison kept appearing in every profile and every interview. Michael Jackson. Now that comparison gets thrown around loosely in music journalism. Usually it means nothing more than this person can sing and dance and people like them. But with Usher, even careful writers had to admit there was something to it. His stage presence was extraordinary. His dancing was technically elite, not just impressive to look at, but correct in a way that people who knew what they were watching could recognize. So the comparison followed him everywhere. And after a while, when enough credible people say the same thing enough times, you start to believe it might mean something real. He wasn't arrogant about it. That matters. He was a genuine admirer of Michael's, had studied him since childhood, spent hours absorbing footage, learning the way Michael breathed through a performance. The comparison didn't feel like flattery to Usher. It felt like recognition. When Michael's team called about the 30th anniversary show, Usher didn't just say yes. He made a request. He went to his manager and said he wanted to perform "You Rock My World," Michael's current single, as a duet, on stage, together, in front of 20,000 people and every camera in New York. His manager looked at him. "That's Michael's song." "I know," Usher said. The request made its way up the chain. Michael said yes. He called Usher personally. "Let's make it special," he said. Usher hung up feeling exactly what you'd expect when Michael Jackson just confirmed your idea was a good one. He had no idea what he was actually agreeing to. 3 weeks before the show, Usher arrived at the rehearsal space in Midtown Manhattan. He'd been preparing for days. Every movement mapped, every transition drilled. He greeted Michael. They exchanged a few words, and then Michael said what he always said when it was time to work. "Let's see what we create together." For 30 minutes, they ran through "You Rock My World." And here's what gets lost whenever this night gets discussed. Usher was genuinely excellent. He wasn't faking or hoping nobody noticed a gap. He matched Michael step for step, brought his own style, made it feel collaborative. When they finished, he was breathing hard, and he felt good about it. He had made his point. Michael looked at him. "That was great. You're incredibly talented." Then he said, "But let me show you something." James Cole had been working with Michael for years by that point. One of those people who had seen behind the curtain more than almost anyone. He was standing in the corner of that rehearsal room when what happened next happened. He has described it in various interviews, always carefully, always with the hesitation of someone trying to put language around something that resists it. Michael started moving. Not the choreography they'd been working on, not anything connected to the song. Just movement, the kind he apparently did alone, late at night, in empty studios, with nothing to perform for. His isolations looked like they'd been programmed by something more precise than muscle memory. His spins arrived from a different understanding of physics than the one most people inhabit. The control he had over every individual element of his body, every finger, every line from shoulder to hip to heel, was not within the normal range of what even elite training produces. Usher stopped moving. He just stood there and watched. When Michael finished, he wasn't breathing hard. That small, quiet detail was somehow the most striking thing in the room. He turned to Usher. I'm not showing you this to discourage you. I want you to understand what you're walking toward, because you should know before you decide. Usher said he understood, but James Cole was watching his face, and the confidence was still there, except something underneath it had shifted. September 10th, the night of the show. The Garden was electric in a way that doesn't come from lighting rigs or production budgets. It came from what the building held. 20,000 people who had paid real money to be in the same room as Michael Jackson. Whitney Houston backstage. The air itself felt heavier, like the building knew what was about to happen. About an hour before they went on, Michael found Usher in the corridor backstage. "Can we talk for a minute?" They went somewhere quiet. No managers, no handlers, just the two of them. Michael told him he was going to be great that night, said it simply, meant it. But then he said something that Usher has never fully repeated in any interview. "When we're out there tonight, I want you to watch something. Not the dancing, something underneath the dancing. And when it's done, I want you to ask yourself, do you actually want what you think you want?" Usher said he did. Michael looked at him for a moment, not unkindly, not skeptically, with something that looked more like concern. "Okay," he said, "let's go." 9:47 p.m. The lights dropped and 20,000 people became one sound. "You Rock My World" started. Usher walked out first. He was everything that had made him a star. Smooth, controlled, completely present. The crowd was immediately on their feet. He moved the way great performers move, like the stage has always belonged to them. Then Michael stepped out. The sound in that building shifted register. Not just louder, different in quality, the way a crowd sounds different when they're witnessing something versus simply enjoying something. 20,000 people making the noise they make when the thing they've been waiting their whole life for suddenly appears. And Michael began to move. For the first 90 seconds, he stayed controlled. He matched Usher movement for movement, keeping things collaborative. But each movement he reflected back was lifted fractionally. Sharper, cleaner on the landing, more exact in a way your eye processed before your brain named it. Not dramatically different, just undeniably more precise. The audience caught it. The energy shifted from enthusiastic to attentive. Usher caught it too. You can see it in the footage if you know what to look for. A slight adjustment in his body, a moment of recalibration, the look of someone who has just registered what is actually happening around them. He pushed harder, pulled from deeper in his vocabulary, faster combinations, more complex transitions, everything that had earned him those platinum albums and those arenas. He was impressive, genuinely. There was nothing weak or embarrassed about what he was doing. But Michael matched everything without appearing to increase effort. The contrast wasn't in the quality of Usher's performance. It was in what the performance appeared to cost. At 2 minutes in, Michael stopped mirroring and started moving in his own direction. What he did in the next 90 seconds has been discussed for over 20 years, and I don't think any description fully captures it. His footwork created its own rhythm independent of the music underneath it. His transitions between movements were so fluid, they didn't look like transitions, just one continuous thing passing through different shapes. Usher kept performing. He didn't stumble, didn't stop, stayed professional and present. But James Cole saw the moment of recognition cross his face. The moment when a person stops seeing what they hoped was true and starts seeing what is actually there. At 3 minutes and 47 seconds, Michael went completely still. He stopped moving entirely and gave the stage to Usher. No gesture, no announcement. Just presence removed from one space so it could fill another. Usher took it. He poured everything he had left into that moment. His best work, his most reliable combinations, the full weight of everything that made him who he was. The crowd cheered, loudly, genuinely, warmly. Then Michael moved again. 4 seconds. A spin, a slide, a freeze at the end, where something about his angle and his weight made it look like gravity had briefly agreed to different terms. The crowd didn't cheer. They gasped first. Then they erupted. The song ended, center stage. 20,000 people on their feet. Michael pulled Usher into a hug. Multiple people standing nearby have given the same account consistently for years. He leaned in close and said, "You're incredible. Don't try to be me. Be better than me. Learn from what I got wrong." Usher couldn't answer. Back in the dressing room, 15 minutes later, still in his stage clothes, Usher sat on the couch and didn't move. His manager came in and told him how great he'd been. Usher picked up the water bottle and set it back down without opening it. He wasn't trying to beat me, he said. He was trying to save me. 3 years later, in 2004, Usher released Confessions. 20 million copies worldwide. One of the best-selling albums of the entire decade, by any artist in any genre. It wasn't built on an attempt to become Michael Jackson. It was built on a clear-eyed decision to become the best possible version of Usher Raymond, an artist with his own identity, his own voice, his own lane. In a radio interview that same year, a host brought up Madison Square Garden with a laugh, trying to make it a fun throwback moment. Instead of playing along, Usher went quiet. He showed me what it cost to be that perfect, he said, and I decided I didn't want to pay that price. Not because I couldn't, because I chose not to. That distinction, couldn't versus chose not to, is the whole story. When Michael died in June 2009, Usher performed at the public memorial at Staples Center. He sang, and somewhere in the second verse he started crying in a way that didn't look like performance. When the song ended, he walked to Michael's casket and touched it with the back of his hand, stood there for a moment, then walked off stage. Nobody who saw it needed an explanation. James Cole said it plainly years later. Michael didn't want Usher to be the next Michael Jackson. He wanted Usher to be the first Usher. He had seen what the alternative cost him. He didn't want that for someone he respected. That is what real generosity looks like when it comes from someone operating that far above everyone else. It doesn't look like a gift when it's happening. It looks like a loss. It feels like something breaking. And then years pass, and you look at what you built in the space that opened up, and you realize the breaking was the point all along. What broke wasn't Usher's potential. It was the wrong version of it. Michael Jackson stood on that stage on the September 10th, 2001, and gave a 22-year-old the only thing worth more than the performance itself. He gave him the truth, delivered with enough care that it landed like a lesson instead of a wound. And Usher spent the next 20 years proving that he heard it.